This is why sobriety sucks, why you feel like you can't do it or you don't want to do it at all. So today we're going to talk about framing. If you don't watch any of the end of the video, this next part, this is not just about sobriety, it's about any aspect of our lives. However, it is extremely important when we talk about being successful in sobriety. And then why we may feel like it sucks or we don't want to do it or it's just not possible, okay? We're going to start with a picture. So you got a beach and then we've got the ocean. Okay, so this is some water here. Let's just make a little thing here. So then we've got a sunrise over the water, and then we've got clouds in the sky, right? And then this is, of course, like I said, this is the beach. We've got the boardwalk back here, and then, of course, we got some buildings back here. But when you're here, standing on the beach, frame is what you choose to focus on, right? Like our vision can only focus on something, but when you look at like a picture or a piece of art or just anything like a movie film or whatever, what you're looking at has been chosen, it's been selected. There was other stuff there, right? But it's focused on this. This camera is focused on this frame, right? So if I'm looking at this, I can choose to frame out the sunrise, and then I'm going to see the sun coming up over the water. I'm going to see the clouds reflecting some of that light, the sky turning like orange or pink or red, some gold maybe. I'm going to see that, or I can like frame down here. Okay, so I could be looking at the beach. I could be, looking at just the edge of the water, so I'm probably not seeing the sun, maybe a little bit of light reflection. The sand's getting lighter because it's lighter outside, or I could literally just be looking down at my feet. That's framing. Your same experience, different frames, okay? So this is what we do in life. Like we frame experiences, and those frames are ultimately our choice. We get to choose this. Now, the reality is we have lots of inputs that subconsciously form our frames as well. With sobriety, that's kind of the case, right? So when we talk about sobriety and the frames in sobriety, one of the things that most people frame it with is that sobriety is restrictive or unachievable, okay? So you see a lot of this in like AA, NA, typical approaches to sobriety. Like you walk in and you're like, well, I'm once an addict, always an addict. That's what they say. Like that's a belief system. And that's restrictive because it's saying that you're always going to be restricted to fearfully living your life as an addict with propensity to go back. News alert, all humans have propensity to do bad behavior. So I don't think you need to walk around telling yourself that you're once an addict, always an addict. I've been sober 13 years. I don't view myself as an addict. Like I'm not an addict. I don't do that stuff anymore. So why would I walk around with a mindset that's restricting me to think about that and then creating the frame where I'm always thinking about this thing creeping over my shoulder that I need to avoid, right? Or unachievable. You tried it multiple times, you tried different ways, different treatment centers, different styles, and you just feel like this thing is going to work. Those are the two frames that I hear of, see most often. I've been to rehab twice myself. I worked in rehab for almost 2 years. I saw this stuff all the time. This is what will frame how you approach every single day. Remember, you're standing in the same place, okay, today, right? We're all here today. The frame is what we choose to see. So if we look at sobriety as like, oh, it's restrictive. Another example, I wanted to go back to my old life without drugs, okay? So I wanted to just go back to the same situation, same people, same places, just no drugs, okay? Restrictive. I'm going back and I'm like, hey, just restrict drugs, just restrict drugs, just restrict drugs. That stuff will get you so tied up because your mind is always on don't do the thing. That's all you think about. And you're just walking around avoiding, and it's like a very fearful way to live. And that frame keeps you from actually walking into the opportunity of sobriety, which is the other frame, okay? So we have freedom and we have opportunity, okay? So whenever we look at the frame here, what we're saying is like, oh, dude, I can be free from that. Like I can let that go. See, a lot of people, they actually don't want to let it go because the frame makes them want to hold on to it, right? So if I walk around saying once an addict, always an addict, I'm holding on to being an addict, right? It's a thought process that makes me want to stay with it. Or if it's unachievable, where I'm like, I hope this works this time. Maybe this will work this time, right? There's no freedom in that. You feel bound to this thing and you're just hoping maybe you're free from it this time. Opportunity is the ability to start something new. This right here is the biggest difference between people who have successful long-term sobriety and they enjoy it versus people who struggle, or they may be sober, but they're just miserable to be around. Like, I've met people that are like 25 years sober, absolutely miserable to be around. Why? Because they're living a restrictive lifestyle, like a frame of life. Everything's restriction, everything's working against them, all that type of stuff. Over here, now what I can do is today, I can live as the person that I want to often reclaim. When you live like this, you know that you screwed up relationships, finances, you lowered your status, whatever it is, and you want to manufacture ways to fix that as fast as possible. Here's an example. When I went to rehab the first time, I didn't want to tell any of my friend group that I was in rehab because like they were all furthering their lives for a year and then I was screwing mine up in my mind, right? So I didn't want to say, well, I was in rehab. I made up all types of excuses of what I was doing for the past year because I didn't want to admit that my status had lowered. But that doesn't really matter. What matters is that if I had framed it this way, would be that, hey, I'm free from that and have the opportunity today to act as if. But if I walk around trying to lie about where I was at or manufacture that stuff, what I'm doing is I'm trying to reclaim my status in a way that's a lie. That is not a healthy way to live. Anytime you pursue that finances, anytime you try to like get money from ill gain, like that's like selling drugs, right? It's not a good way to get money. You can get a lot of it fast, but the risks and what it does to you psychologically, it doesn't line up, right? So if you live like this and you're trying to reclaim your finances, your relationships, you're going to end up back here because you're trying just to manipulate the system again. But over here, today I can show up as that person. Like today is the day. I'm free from my past. I don't have to go back, and I have an opportunity to become the person that I want to become. I have the opportunity to stand up and be the man that I want to be. And it's my belief that most people in addiction, they want that. They just feel like it can't happen. They want to step into the person that they want to see themselves as, but they don't feel like they can do it, right? And that's the frame. When you have this frame, though, it's like, hey, today I can act as if I've been sober for as long as I want to be, right? And that's where I don't believe once an addict, always an addict. I believe today you can choose that I'm no longer a drug addict, and you can live that out. You can start to build that identity. Now, at first, it may be very simplistic. So for example, when I went to the rehab the second time, which since then I have been sober, I basically told myself going into it, I said, well, I didn't know what to do last time, so I'm just going to do whatever I get told to do. Like base level compliance. Obviously, I don't know how to live this life. So what's the easiest way for me to do that? And to me, it was comply with the schedule. Just be on time and show up. And I know that sounds super simplistic, but it was my opportunity to be like, you know what? I'm going to act differently. I'm not just going to live like this. I'm not just going to do what I was doing where I was just doing my own thing and like tearing people up all around me. I'm just going to obey what they tell me to do. That's the freedom from addiction, and it's also the opportunity to live today as if the person I want to be here. So now, 13 years later, I'm standing in this office, and I was like, I need to go make this video today, and I came in here and I'm doing it without having to do a bunch of willpower to get here because I built that way back 13 years ago by being compliant to that schedule. I lived in the opportunity to be as if I am now back then. That's where people actually make progress. My mom will tell you, she didn't say this out loud until like 4 or 5 years into my sobriety, but she said, the way I knew Jonathan had changed was he actually started confessing to things that I didn't even care about. Little lies he told or things that just weren't true. He started confessing to those things. Why? Because I wanted to live in freedom and I wanted to take the opportunity to be the authentic, honest person that I wanted to be. So whenever a lie came up, I just couldn't deal with it. And I was like, man, let me just say it. No longer trying to keep a facade, trying to manufacture relationships. No, I was just going to be myself and I was going to free myself from that way of life and live as the person that I want to be. That's a frame. It's how you look at it. So when you talk about sobriety, why sobriety sucks, it's because you've got this frame. It's because you feel like you don't have a possibility of a future. You don't have the ability to have anything different. You feel like the only way to have fun is to go back there. And I'm here to tell you, dude, like I have nothing in my old life that I look back to and look up to. I only enjoy and want to further what I'm doing now. This just doesn't even make sense to me anymore. People meet me and they can't even believe I used to live like that. And it's not that I'm anything special. It's simply because I'm so different from that now because I live like this. You can do this. This is a choice today to feel and realize the freedom you have, that you don't have to have that stuff anymore, and the opportunity to start living as if you are the person that you want to become. So that's the biggest thing, framing. How do you frame it? Everything in life, stuff that happens to you, different things going on in the world, just everything has a frame. We get to assign the frame to whatever we see. The question is, which frame do you want? And I'll tell you this right now, this one's the frame of the victim. If you walk around thinking you're a victim, it's everybody else's fault, there's other reasons other than you for why you're here, you always live here. This frame right here, this is the one where you say, it's all on me. 100% ownership, nobody else. But the cool part is, you actually get to live a new life. So appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.